he is a freaking rock star, and we are so excited to have him here. Please give it up for Mark Pagan.
So a few months ago, I was over at Moonstruck Diner, which is over on 2nd Avenue. I was having a club sandwich. And right next to me was a table full of teenage girls. And I, as an adult, have gotten really, really irritated when people don't control their volume in public. And these girls were going to town. And so I was like, okay, I'm going to tune into what they're talking about. And I was getting good sound bites. Like this one girl kept talking about what the state bird was going to be. I was like, what the fuck is she talking about? She's like, well, if you're going to a big party school, like you'll find your social scene there. And then her friend was responding, well, like, I'm really into sitting on my ass if there's a sorority for that. I was like, they're going to college. Oh man, wow, that's awesome. And for some reason, I was super relaxed and I really wanted to listen to them. I was like, what's wrong with me? Where I actually am into this. And I'm sort of a nostalgia terrorist. So like I'm very sentimental. So when I see people building nostalgia, I'm like, I want to take that. And so I could see this moment developing amongst these girls because they were projecting these social situations, and it was very dear and pure. And also, like, I'm very regretful and embarrassed about what led to my college choice because I was not an ideal student. My extracurricular activities when I was in high school were coming home and watching real-world marathons and methamphetamines. So my options were somewhat limited. My mom's a sweet woman, very encouraging, and she, I didn't have good grades. She's like, you know what? You're a good listener. Why don't you be a priest? And so I didn't know what to do with these options, and somehow I ended up at this small school in Western Pennsylvania called Robert Morris College. It was outside of Pittsburgh, and I was like, I'll whatever it is, I'll fit into the social dynamic there. And I was totally wrong, because it's a small school in Western PA. 90% of the student body went home for the weekend. Like they all lived in Western Pennsylvania. So the campus was a ghost town. And there were a few rejects left, myself included, and some out-of-towners. And so we did what rejects do in a small, empty school on the weekends. We would get high, and we would go to the tanning salon. And the instigator of this whole thing was this dude named Phil Case. And I hadn't even thought about this guy since these girls were talking, these girls were talking over at Moonstruck Diner. And he's a guy who, like, when I met him, I was like, we're not gonna work out as friends. Super alpha, kind of a meathead. And he said, yeah, came here to meet girls. I came to this area to meet girls. He was 21 years old. This was his second stint in college. And his dad said, if you want to do this, I'll pay for your college, but you got to get good grades. You got to see it through. But his real reason for being out in Pittsburgh was to be a stripper. And he was stripping at this club near the airport called Mustangs. And, this is what he told us. I would usually be outside the dorm smoking a cigarette whenever he came home off his shift. And he was like, hey, Prince, give me an ultralight. That's what everybody on campus called me, Prince, as in the artist formerly known as. Whatever you want to project in terms of what I looked like back then, that's up to you. But he'd be like, Prince, give me an ultralight. And so I gave him, we're smoking Marlboros. And I'm like, so how was your shift? And he's like, oh man, the ladies were crazy tonight. And none of us could validate this. Like when your friend's a male stripper, I'm not gonna go to his Christmas party. Like it's not the work environment that we're gonna go and visit. Be like, hey, we're here. And so, he would come back. He would have matchbooks from Mustangs, and he did a lot of prep. He used I don't know if anybody here used this product. It was LA Style. It was a gel. It turned your hair into like a tortoise shell. And he had these flannel shirts where he had ripped off the sleeves, and he had like only three buttons that he used. The rest was open here. This odd bonding thing happened, which I never told him. I came into the dorm one night, and he kept the door open. He was very shameless, and he had a single blade Bic, and he was just shaving his chest. And he's like, it's what the ladies want. It's what the ladies want. And the sad thing is I totally agreed with him because I was a closet chest shaver in high school. And I never told anybody but when puberty sprouted, I was not happy with the results. And I walked around, I was like, I feel like a Saudi Arabian uncle. And so I would do my part of maintenance. And for some reason, I saw this and I was like, that is so cool that he's owning doing this. He's not that bad a guy. And I like that. Dan, he was odd, but he would do things like, because he would keep his shirt open and he would be very shameless about it, the way he looked. Looking at this guy over here, like his stomach wasn't so much formed like a six-pack as much as it was formed by six-packs. Like he was hovering over the belt a little bit. But he said he would own it, be like, you know what, the ladies like it. The ladies like it. It's like, you got to do your thing, man. So a few months into the semester, we're at the tanning salon. And he says, yeah, well, I talked to my dad. My grades aren't so good. And, if I don't get them up, I got to come back home and take care of the farm. I was like, oh, man, that sucks. So, yeah, anyway, I'm going to go back there this weekend if you yins want to come up there and, check the place out and everything. I was like, oh, yeah, I guess. It was just a camping trip. And so in my mind, I thought, oh, this place is going to be crazy dump. It's going to be like a Bruce Springsteen song. And I show up there, and it wasn't. Like, it's a really nice house and all these hills in western Pennsylvania and just acres and acres and acres of beautiful land. So much land that he had taken a tractor and taken out a portion of the forest so that we could camp there. I was like, why would you not want to come back to this, man? This is so cool. And I found out that night when his brother and his friends showed up. So they were a few sheets to the wind. We were hanging out. There were a few of us that had come from campus. And his brother shows up and he says, which one of yins got the faggot car out there? And there were only trucks and a Volkswagen. We had brought the Volkswagen. So my friend Nick raised his hand. He goes, I guess you're talking about me. He goes, that shit's blocking my truck, man. You got to move it. And so Nick went to move his VW and never came back. He just went back to campus. And so I sat there and drank the Drum Rock beer, which was brought by his brother and his friends. Drum Rock is a Western Pennsylvania beer. It's $3 a case. Might have gone up to $4 at this point. And I don't remember too much about details of the night, but I do remember the interactions between Dan and his brother because the two of them, he was just getting pushed around a lot. And every time Dan went to go grab like a hot dog or some Doritos or something like that, his brother would go, oh, you slow down. I'm not sure the ladies are going to like that. And it was so painful to watch. I was like, God, I got to take a walk. Took a walk, came back a while later, and his brother and the boys, they'd all gone to go get beer in town. And Dan was sitting there by the fire, and he was sobbing. And I was like, oh, God, I really am not ready to deal with this at all. But I went, and I sat down next to him, and I said, are you okay, man? He took a sip of his beer. He said, yeah, I'm fine. And he said, I'm no stripper. I'm like, oh, dude, they're just being assholes. Don't worry about their opinion. He goes, no, Prince, you don't understand. I'm not a stripper. And I was like, oh, well, what's going on? I don't understand. He goes, no, look, I run security at Mustangs. I do security there. I was like, oh, that's cool, though. You're like a bouncer. Like, people are intimidated by you. He's like, no, Prince, no. Like, I do security inside. Like I make sure the floors are safe and swept. And I was like, oh. In my head, I was like, I guess his job is more to do with Windex than spandex. And so I didn't know what to say. Like I've never had to talk somebody back into stripping. And so I dug deep and I was like, oh, all right. Well, my mom thought I was a priest. So let's try this out a little bit. And I said, well, there are many paths to stripping. and perhaps what you're doing is leading you in that way. He nodded, and there was, I was just pulling out of my ass the best I could. And so we had a few moments. Then he gave me this little hug, and then he puked, and then he went to sleep in his tent. For some reason, his pants were around his ankles. And next morning, there's nothing. No memory of the whole thing. And, we went back to campus, and he was there for another few weeks, and he flunked out and ended up back at the farm, presumably. And I was there for the rest of the school year, and then I finished my undergrad in Montreal. I've never seen him, never talked to him. And this week, when I was getting ready to tell this, I was like, I want to work out some details because so much stuff in that period is foggy. So I went onto Google Maps, and I was like, let me do a Western PA map. Let me see if I can identify the town that he was from. And I started tearing up. And I was like, why am I getting emotional about this? I was like, why is this affecting me so much? And I don't really have the greatest theory to why that is, but I guess it's just time passing. It's just like all this time has passed, and it's this desert island experience of which I've had so many since then, of having time with a person I would never be one to be trapped on a desert island with, but yet connecting and having this whole period together and taking something away from it. And I guess that's my high school graduation speech to those girls sitting at Moonstruck Diner is like, this is great. I'm really glad you guys are projecting this ideal of what your social life is going to be, things that you're going to encounter. But I really, really hope that there comes a time where you meet somebody and it's your responsibility to convince them to chase their dreams and keep shaving their chest, because that's what they want to do. And in the meantime, from here on out, just make sure you keep your voices down when you talk in public. Thank you.
Comes the world